Okay, so we've done deliveries. Let's look at sales. I'm going to look at sales and put a line graph in there, a time series line graph, just to show sales over the space of, the time that our transactions cover. So we get a nice sort of temporal view of how our sales have gone. Okay, so I'm going to start with that. We're also in this section going to have a view of sales using the map chart, but more of that later. Let's do the line chart first. So there's our sort of donut base area. There's where we did our sort of development of our donuts. I'm going to create another sheet. We'll call that, I guess, this charts, various charts here. And again, well, we can go through that process of adding in a pivot table, or what I can do, because I'm very lazy, I'm just going to copy this pivot table here from donuts, copy, and just place it. I'll make this a little bit bigger. Paste it here. Make sure you do that. Don't do values, just do the default paste. So we've got basically a copy of this which one was this? Yeah, this was returns, wasn't it? So we're just gonna sort of start from scratch now. And what are we looking at? We're looking at time. So we're gonna put in date in there. Now you'll notice that the date has been kindly, they've broken it down into years, quarters, and the actual date. So that's nice. So what do we want to, and there's years as well there, see, quarters, years, and so on and so forth. So it's great. We like that. You can what you can do is remove, if you've decided you want to go off quarters, you can remove date, for example, and so on and so forth. But I'm just going to leave them in there. I'm going to leave them in there for the time being. And then we were looking at revenue as we were before. So let's do that. So it's the sum of revenue. That's what we want. And again, if we want to, we can change those guys into something a little bit more currency looking, a little bit more sort of financial looking. Depends on whatever. Obviously, well, this should really be dollars, shouldn't it? Because it's given the data, as we'll find out, is from some Southern American states. So let's set it to dollars. Okay. Now, here's how this works. So what we'll do is we'll produce that line chart, and you'll see what happens. So pivot table analyze, pivot chart, and with time series, it's always good to go with line charts. All right. So if I click on line chart, click OK, it gives me this. So it's not very interesting, is it? Let's play around with it. Let's get rid of these buttons. So right click, hide all field buttons. We'll get rid of the legend again. Delete the legend. We don't need that. We don't need that title there. We can delete that. So we've got a little bit more sort of real estate to play with. Not well. That's not very interesting, is it? Look what happens when I expand these guys here. We get the quarters, like so. That's a little bit more interesting, isn't it? I just want to see whether have I got anything filtered out? No, I haven't. Good. Okay, let's go back to charts various. So there you go. And you could, if you wanted to go down to, you can see you've got quarters over the years. If you wanted to make it even more granular, we could go down to January. See, do that. There are obviously, you're probably saying, John, that's a little bit labor intensive. There are better ways of if you've decided just on the dates or the months, for example, you can play around with this area here. All right, but I'm going to stick to quarters. All right. I'm happy with quarters. It works for me. 2017, 2018, 2019. Great. let's play around and with the design. You know, in this case, you can play around, do your own design. I quite like some of these predefined ones that they've got here. I mean, there's on a dashboard you don't want lots of data labels, so that one's no good. But this one's quite nice. No, we don't want the data labels. Let's get rid of the data labels by clicking on that. Take away the data labels. Okay. Well, that looks, that looks okay. And it's up to you how you do this, how you play around with this. So we've got our chart there. What we can do is we can copy it or we can cut it. It depends on which way you want to do it. I'm gonna click on the chart, copy it, the whole chart, make sure I get the whole chart, and then go to my dashboard, sales, and then paste here. All right, so I'm gonna, whoops. It is a little bit fiddly, if that's a word you understand. English people understand it, British people. It's easy to sort of mess things around. So, but you know what? You just have to be a little bit patient. So I'm just going to stretch that. Well, actually, no, I could just leave that there like that, couldn't we? I want to leave a little bit of space here for our map, but I'm going to move that along, and there we have our chart. Okay. And all very nice. We like that. We like that chart. One little tip while I'm here, while I've got you here, I'm going to click on the line. So you see, I don't know if you can see that there. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You see, I just clicked on the line and it selected all of these data points like that. Okay. And then if I right click on here, format data series, just a tiny little tip. If we click on fill, it's just a flat white line there. Gradient, go down to the gradient stops, just drag and remove those two gradient stops, and then we'll just play around with these gradient stops, which is the position, depending on the position of the line, will give you a color. Okay, so on this first one, I'm going to click on that gradient stop and choose red, and then click on the second one and choose white. Okay, so red is sort of higher up there. Actually, I'm going to do it the other way around. Let's do that the other way around. Have the bottom one as white and the top one as red. Okay, so all that means is it's just well, I just think it looks nice, great, sort of grading up from red to white. So the lower the sales, the redder it is. The higher the sales, the whiter it is. Just a little tip there. Not essential, but just there we go. So there we go. There's our sort of our line chart. We could play around with this and slim it down a little bit. As I say, anything can be changed, but there it is. Now, I'm just going to zoom back a little bit. I know it looks a little bit small, and you'll see that if I click on add organic, okay, it's all connected. How good is that? Beautiful. All right, so we're getting there. All right, there's our line chart. Next up, well, in case you're watching this video in a different order, I'm not going to tell you what next up because it won't make sense, because you might not be watching it. We're going to do maps. How do I stop? I need to find out how to stop the video. Ah, there it is. There's my little button to stop the video.